Now, Governor Blanco, you were the first female governor in the history of Louisiana, and you also were a Democrat in a state that has become increasingly more and more conservative. Do you think that this complicated your relationship with the Bush White House?
Well, it complicated the White House piece of it because President Bush had a political person in his office, in the person of Karl Rove. Most presidents and most governors do not put their political people in their office as employees. Those people remain independent advisors, but not as employees. So it was, it had a political tint to everything that came out of the Bush White House. And I think that the unfortunate thing is that President Bush was a very compassionate man, and he was making decisions from his heart as well as his head. But then when the national media started jumping on him and for the delays, and he couldn't get FEMA to produce the desired results in a timely fashion, I would say specifically the buses. And I asked the White House every day if they could possibly get the buses here, and every one of them wanted to do that. But, it seemed like they could not move the bureaucracy in time. It took until Thursday morning. The storm hit on Monday, and FEMA buses finally arrived on Thursday morning. But, I didn't sense the politics of it initially. Because I was dealing with the president directly, and I considered him a very decent, compassionate man. The politics began to unfold in the wake of the attacks that the president was taking. And of course, what is the best way to turn attention from one being attacked? And that's to find another scapegoat. So I became the logical scapegoat, and they went so far as to put a very definitive lie out. Karl Rove told Time magazine, who told me that the information came from him, he told Time magazine and the Washington Post that the reason for the federal delay was that the governor of Louisiana had not signed the disaster declaration till after landfall. Well, we all know it was a lie because every media outlet in Louisiana announced it on Friday night and printed it on Saturday morning. And, it just was the lie, the big lie that was used to discredit me. And the lie lived on for several weeks. And, I told my people, including Bob Mann, that they needed to quit trying to fight these public relations wars, that the attacks were going to come on me, and let them. I said, we are not going to use our energy to fight a public relations initiative. We're going to save lives. That is our mission. Our mission is to get Louisiana whole, to keep it together, to prevent as many people from dying as we possibly can do. And while they're sitting in air-conditioned offices planning these political strategies that are designed to hurt someone or another. And they were trying to blame Louisiana for everything that went wrong in the storm when we were the absolute victims. And I always found that to be a great irony. And I deeply resented the politicization of this disaster, because you're putting too many lives at risk when you want to play political games. I was never really a partisan person, so I guess that made me a little bit naive toward the level of politics that they were willing to play. And I intellectually understood politics was going to come into play. I just didn't think it would be as coarse and as dishonest as it actually turned out to be.
Now, Governor, you mentioned earlier, you said that you believed President Bush was a very caring and compassionate man. Do you blame that the federal government bureaucracy and the politicization of this more on the people around him within the White House than the president himself?
Oh, I had many people from Washington who really liked George Bush tell me that there were people around him who did not serve him well. And they were always upset about certain kinds of decisions and announcements that were coming forth in the aftermath of the hurricane. And these were people who deeply cared for the president. And so I wasn't really the only person. You know, this information was coming at me all the time.